what happened and everything that was going on in the world. When we can remember that we do have a precious resource, our breath, that we can breathe, that just tuning in and asking, where is my breath right now? This is why when we go back into nature, it's like, oh, this is so wonderful and nurturing. I feel, more alive and connected. This is where we're supposed to be.
You see, I really believe that we are all energy, and we are tapping into the real source, which is the universal consciousness that is connected to all of us. When you receive information, there are these signals that are getting to you, which sort of says that you are connected to the original and universal source. We are all energy, manifesting in different ways. And now we're talking about breath. And I think that this breath that is coming through us is also connected to the universal energy that we are all part of. I don't want to call it a machine, but it looks like a universal machine, one source, not so many, one that is distributing in different areas. And now we are tapping into that. We are the manifestation of life. By tapping into that, taking in and giving out, it shows that we are one and the same.
Thank you so much, Obe. It's always so nice to connect with you. You just have that easy feel and vibe. It feels like you're just sitting right here next to me as we're talking. And I wanted to come on today to share about breathwork and mental health, because a lot of people are in a heightened state in their minds, and their bodies are responding. And so by talking about breath work and packing it a little bit about what that looks like, I think your viewers and listeners will gain more clarity of how breath work and conscious breathing can help them.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Breath work and conscious breathing. There are some people out there, I believe, who do not even know what breath work is. So what really is breath work? What do you want to say about that for people that are maybe new, don't yet understand what this means?
Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about breath work or mindfulness, different modalities or practices to bring us back to ourselves. And breath work is actually something that is considered to be really ancient practice once you think about it. This has been around for thousands of years. Although with everything in our lives that's happening, right, we get distracted and we think that we need to do more than we actually need to in order to incorporate the breath work. So what breath work is being consciously aware of the breathing and doing something so simple as even breathing in for 4, holding, your breath for 4, and breathing out for 4. That's a simple breathwork practice. Or it could look like, I'm just going to take a nice deeper breath in, and you're consciously aware, right? Feeling that sensation of the breath flowing in, filling your lungs, filling your body, and then you breathe out slow and long, and a longer exhalation than the inhalation. So breath work is about really resetting the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, And that's the rest and digest. This is where our body can heal, where it can clean out toxins. The breath is so powerful, and it's the only thing that we can control in the autonomic nervous system. Even people thinking or listening right now and remembering back to, I call it the global shift that happened, because it was a huge shift, right? A ripple that felt across the globe. And it's still within our bodies that our nervous system, right, just kind of heightens it. It tenses up, thinking about what happened and everything that was going on in the world. So when we can remember that we do have a precious resource, our breath, that we can breathe, that just tuning in and asking, where is my breath right now? Is it in my upper chest? Is it in my mid chest? Maybe it's more in the belly. And just breathing in a little bit deeper into those spaces. Then the body is like, oh yeah, I can relax now. And then the mind follows that. It's releasing, the brain is releasing chemicals, and our body responds.
Our body responds. That is how you put it. This is really very important conversation, I must say, because we're talking about breath here. We're talking about our respiration. And I remember, for example, in 2020, I did a series of interviews in the heart of COVID-19, of course, where a lot of people were where all of us were locked down, and of course, what was being attacked was our respiration. So I remember some people were asking how important this time is, because now we cannot breathe almost, no? So looking at it from that perspective, one might be asking, what is really this breath? Where is it? And what is the connection to the entire conversation that we are talking about today?
Oh, I love that, Obehi, you even talking about what is the breath? What is this? And I call it life force energy, just as you perfectly described, right? We can go weeks without food, days without water, but it's only moments without the breath. So that's that life force energy. As you said, we come into the world, that's the first thing we do is breathe. And then that's the last thing as we transcend to wherever people believe we go after we stop breathing. And we're all energy, right? And energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. So when we're connected to the breath, and especially with the biodynamic breath work and trauma release system that I'm trained in, it works with energy. It works with the bioenergy within your body. And when we touch into places that feel a little bit better than the rest of the body, bring that mind connection to the body through the felt sense and understanding, oh, this is my breath. This is happening with me, right? And it's a beautiful experience to be able to really feel your whole body breathe versus I'm just getting to the next and I need to go here and I'm distracted and I got to hurry up and get all this stuff done. That takes us out of our bodies. We're more up in our minds, and we need our minds. I'm not saying it's good or bad, although doesn't it feel so much better when we can take a breath and be in this space within ourselves? We receive more clarity and find more of compassion for ourselves. And from this space, right, that ripples out to others that we connect with. I'm a firm believer that we are the ripple effect. That's the energy. That's what we're expanding here. The breath is something that is so precious, and we really take it for granted. And when people hear breath work, they might think, I'm already breathing. How much more work do I need to do at it? That's one way of thinking of it. Although it's really about the conscious awareness of even going out in nature. That was our last talk we had, right? Talking about being outside and exploring nature and just breathing in. That is all, as you said, right? We're encapsulating that energy and essence of what is all with each breath and each moment. And this can be even a meditative practice. It's very common with breath work, just focusing on the breath flowing in and out, the ease, the sensation, the coolness of the air flowing in through the nose, traveling down through the throat and to the chest. And I want to bring up too, when you're connecting with the breath, where are our lungs? They're right here, right? In the middle of our chest. Well, what's right in front of our lungs? And I invite people just to place your hands on your chest right now. Take a breath in and out. What are you feeling there? Maybe the rise and fall of your body moving, but most importantly, your heart beating. This connects directly to your core essence, your heart. And it's such a beautiful experience to be able to connect to that space within ourselves, because as I've learned through my training, through BBTRS, that when we are experiencing trauma, that we freeze, right? We contract. And what's the first place that we want to protect? Our hearts. Yeah, so when we can breathe a little easier, we feel a little bit more open, vibrant, that aliveness within us. And that's because we are connecting to our true self, connecting to our higher self, if you will, connecting to the divine, as it's all one.
There is power there. There is power in what you're saying. I really find a lot of value there. There is a reason why today a lot of people that are working within the natural healing system are always advising people to go into nature, to connect to your true self, to connect to who you really are deeply rooted to everything about you, because sometimes we need to learn from other animals that are living in nature. Somebody was saying animals don't feel bored, no? Because everything is around them. We are animal. We are like every other animal. We are one type of the many animals out there. So we need to learn from the other animal with whom or with which we are cohabiting in this space.
We are animals. People forget we're animals. This is why when we go back into nature, it's like, oh, this is so wonderful and nurturing. I feel, more alive and connected. This is where we're supposed to be, is out in nature. But we get distracted by our lifestyles, about devices, the electronics and things that fragments us. It takes away our energy. It puts us more up here in the mind. And we tend to forget that we have this amazing container, this body with the breath. Instead of saying, okay, I'm breathing right now, that's more of a forced, and it's not being very conscious, aware of what's really fully happening. So I invite people for just to be curious. Well, what is this breath work? How can this possibly support me? And in this space of curiosity, then we let go of judgments or how it should look like. And we allow ourselves that space to really explore and tune into our bodies. And this is something that I've experienced, not just myself, but I've been working with correctional facilities. I've been in prisons and have taught people conscious breathing exercises. And when people are in prison, they're not very present. They're on heightened alert, right? It's not a feel-good environment. And so when I invited them to just do some easy practices, as I talked before, like the box breath, you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, hold for 4. And something very interesting happened that I was not expected. I did not expect them to come out of it with this looking around like, what just happened? And it was because they've been in that fight, flight, freeze, fawning, that sympathetic nervous system of, I have to protect myself. I'm on guard. I'm on the lookout for threats. And when we consciously breathe and bring ourselves into our bodies, that's where we switch to the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest. And these individuals, they were courageous enough to be in this class with me, to want to learn more about wellness. And that's the curiosity, right? Just inviting that curiosity. And then they did not expect to feel more open and light. And when I asked them, well, how are you feeling now? And some of them could not even explain it. They just said, this is crazy. I didn't expect to feel like this. And then I would ask them, well, is this a positive or a negative sensation? Oh, this is positive, but I'm here and I should be feeling, on guard. And they were surprised how it helped them to ease that protection that they had built. And I truly believe, Obehi, that some people are, in utero, when they are in the mother's womb, they are sensing and feeling the traumas, the tensions, everything that the mother is experiencing. And when they're born into that environment, that's what their nervous system is hardwired to. And then through conditioning in the environment, and then, one thing leads to another. So you can see that kind of in cycles, right? In different family cycles of how that would be. And bringing it back to the breath, we can build resiliency in the nervous system. We can bring that calmness back. It takes the awareness with curiosity and the practice to do that. And also, I'm a big neuroscience person. I love understanding how the brain works. And this is actually carving out new neural pathways, physically changing the brain to where it becomes more of a conscious effort after a while, instead of, okay, I need to pause, just breathe in, relax, feel that sensation. And then you just go on about your day with a little bit more ease and grace for yourself. But it does take practice, right, to carve out those neural pathways in our brains. And it's any age people can do this. It's just not getting in the way of your own belief systems. I call them BS. The BS that we carry around, the story. Oh, I can't do that. I don't have time for that. Oh, that's not for me. All the things the mind will tell us, because it takes time to learn and invest your time and energy into a new practice. but it can't fathom, your mind cannot fathom what benefits you will feel afterwards. It's just looking at it right now. Our minds are looking at right now what we have. So it is a mindfulness practice. It is about mind-body connection. Breath work is.
I would like you to spend some time on the fact that, you see, I really believe that we are all energy and we are tapping into the resource, which is the universal consciousness that is connected to all of us. When you talk, when you receive information, there are these signals that are getting to you, which sort of says that you are connected to the original and universal source. We are all energy manifesting in different ways. And now we're talking about breath. And I think that this breath that is coming through us is also connected to the universal energy that we are all part of. I don't want to call it a machine, but it looks like a universal machine, one source, not so many, one that is distributing in different areas. And now we are tapping into that. Because we are the manifestation of life. By tapping into that, taking in and giving out, it shows that we are one and the same at the end of the day. So I would like you to spend some time on the fact that we really are energy. That is very important for me.
The physical and biological aspect of existing here on this earth. As you said, Obehi, we are all energy and we're connected to all. And so think about how we even receive this life force energy to breathe. We receive it through the plants, through the earth's, how the earth is made up, right? And all of the elements of the earth is within us too. So bringing it back to, we are all, and I say all is me. And knowing that with this amazing breath, that we are connecting on a much deeper level when we are in that present moment, when we are feeling and putting your attention on your intention of connecting, of wanting more joy or peace or relaxation, whatever it is that you're wanting right now in your life, you can receive it. It takes that time and practice, but simply tuning in, we have all the resources within ourselves. And it doesn't need to look like what another person is doing or a specific way. You can use those as guideposts and maybe check out yoga, or because that is breath, right? That's a breathing technique. That's the ancient practice for thousands of years and through ancestors. It's all in our DNA still. They're all still here with us. As Obehi, you were going through the, the more spiritual side, right? Our ancestors are still within us, within our DNA. And a breath is the doorway to access them. So much as I was sharing earlier about that sympathetic nervous system, right? The fight, flight, freeze. So if people are, feeling way overwhelmed or in a lower state, depression, and they're struggling. I had a friend reach out to me, a very dear friend of mine. I had no idea that he was struggling with mental health. And he reached out to me just this last weekend. and said he started recognizing the signs that he was siloing himself. He wasn't responding back to people's text messages, and it kind of scared him. And so he reached out to his therapist, and then he thought, well, he felt better after that, after talking and connecting and expressing outwardly what your needs are or what you're experiencing, instead of being in the head and ruminating thoughts over and over and over again. People just don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to go jump off that bridge right now. No, it takes a long time of those thoughts to build up to convince themselves to go do it. So paying attention to the thoughts, tuning in, inviting a simple breathing practice, because this is what melts the outer layers of the tensions, of the pressures that we're placing on ourselves. When we can breathe a little easier, be in a space to where we feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm not saying that breath work, you're going to see rainbows and unicorns and everything's going to be happy skippy. It could happen, although we just want to be settled. We want to find that place of contentment, a little bit of peace. That's what relaxes the mind. I call it, I don't know if everybody is familiar with a snow globe. So usually it's a American tourist thing that you go to let's say New York City, and then there's a little plastic, looks like a plastic egg, and it has like the I'm trying to think of the tall building. Let's say it's Paris, right? You're in Paris. You go there, there's a little plastic ball, and it has the Eiffel Tower inside, and you shake it up, and it has all those particles. It looks like snow flying around. Right? That's a snow globe, we call in the US. And so we all have that in our minds, and the snow just continues to whirl and swirl. We can't even see the Eiffel Tower. We can't even see ourselves because we're blinded by that blizzard of all those thoughts, of all those snow particles floating around in our minds. And when we find that breath, when we find a space to just pause and breathe into it, what happens? The snow, the thoughts start to settle a little bit. Yeah, you'll have a few flakes, but it won't be that blizzard, that snowstorm happening in your mind. And then you can feel the shift literally in your body. You feel that expansion through your chest. Maybe your shoulders kind of drop a little bit. And that way you're more embodied. Because we're human beings, right? We're meant to live and exist in this body, on this earth. And we tend to forget that because we're so focused on all the external things around us. And again, as I said before, that fragments our energy, so many thoughts happening, popping in and out. Just finding that peace, finding that space within allows us to see ourselves more clearly.
Sometimes I tend to believe that what you are talking about today here can have to do with why people sometimes feel emptiness in themselves, that they are unable to see who they are, the relevance they have in this world, and therefore lose track of themselves, and therefore come to the point of concluding that, okay, I have no relevance, I have nothing to do, or I cannot solve the problem that I'm facing today, therefore I can maybe end it all. But if you remember, if you understand now that you are just one part of the many equation in this life, that you are needed to conclude the entire equation, then you sort of become very careful of what you do and how you react, even to your life. That is not only your life, because what happens to you reverberate around the entire universe, because you are part of the entire consciousness, like I was just referring to before, in that you are not just singular in and of itself. You are part of the entire consciousness. What you do is important to you and to the whole of it. You don't need to carry the entire load on yourself alone, thinking that it is just all about you, because when you do that, you are going to explode. Instead, if you can learn to lift up some of the burden on you, on the society, on nature, for example, you see that it becomes easier for you to carry on. So that is where I would like you to spend some time talking about how breath work and this connected to nature can help us to live a more healthier and better life, the way that we're supposed to live in this world.
Yeah. Or I say implode. Really, implode. I believe that's the suicide, right? They implode on themselves. So for sure, Obehi, it's comes hand in hand with the mental health and our physicality, our physical health, and how we're connecting back to ourselves. And we tend to silo ourselves. We tend to not want to burden other people with our problems. Or we truly believe the voice in our head that it is speaking the truth when it is not. It's working off of preconceived notions, old stories. And when we're in that space, that mind space of feeling down about ourselves, or very judgmental, or my life is just not going the way I wanted it, and I don't know where I'm going, all those thoughts that keep happening, then there's a saying that says, we don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. So we'll go on and we'll see things that justify how we're feeling. Or somebody will mention something and we take it the wrong way because we're in that headspace of that judgment, of that negative bias that's happening there. And so then that kind of solidifies keeping us quiet and silent. And also it depends on our upbringing too. Were we heard and seen and valued by our caregivers? Was the community, enforcing people to voice their needs and expressions and being well received? Or was it, you have to be quiet and keep that to yourself, and nobody wants to hear, that negative stuff, or you shouldn't cry, keep those emotions to yourself. For men, it's a sign of weakness. For women, it's saying that you lost your mind and you're out of control, type of thing. So when we can recognize the BS, as I said before, those belief systems, the voice in our head that keeps telling us certain things, when we become curious and really ask ourselves, is this really happening right now? This story that's happening in my mind? No, that happened 2 weeks ago, or it happened when I was 5. So why does it keep coming up? I call these echoes. We have these echoes in our mind that keep coming up because they need to be witnessed. They need to be healed. They need to be accepted. And when we can accept those parts of ourselves, the good and the bad, as you say, I say that there's no good or bad. It's just experiences. Then we can appreciate ourselves a little bit more, that we've been through so much. And that's where our emotional intelligence comes in. This is where we build that resiliency to stress that helps with mental health. Mental health, I want to unpack it because there's a broad umbrella about mental health. Basically, what it comes down to is how resilient you are to bounce back from challenges in life. That's what mental health comes down to. We have risk factors such as socioeconomic status, health, career, things like that come in, risk factors. And then we have protective factors. Protective factors is reaching out to the friend. What kind of self-care practices do you have for yourself? Are you meditating? Are you reading a book or listening to music that brings aliveness in you? Are you connected to outside groups, such as a church group or maybe a Zoom group online, finding different groups? So that's the protective factors. And so protective factors can offset the risk factors. So yeah, we're going to be going through life. We're going to have ups and downs. That's what it's all about. This is the challenges, the flow. We're learning and unlearning as we go. But how long are you going to stay in those, I call it trauma vortex, like spiraling down, right? Maybe if you're, let's say your bike got stolen or you had a fender bender with your car, that might stay with you for maybe a week or so, and then you find ways to get around that, right? But a death of an immediate family member, that can take a little bit longer to find your resiliency within yourself and move through the grievance. So it just depends on where people are at, what protective factors that we have in place, because we're not born with them. We're not. So that's the beauty of, as I was talking about, neuroplasticity, right? The mind, the brain, physicality of our brain, that we can change it. And when we offset those risk factors, then we build more of our emotional intelligence. We have a better mental health. I have something to share that maybe others can relate to. I was going back to college, and it was a very trying time in my life. And definitely my mental health was a little wonky, right? As I wanted more for myself, and I wanted this education and to do for me. After following my husband around, he's retired Navy, and I did everything for him. Now is my time to show up and want something for me. And then my thoughts in my mind would come in of, well, why are you even going back to school? This seems like too much trouble than it's worth. And I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was in second grade, when I was 8 years old. And so always the thought would come up, I have to study twice as hard. I'm never going to be a 4.0 student. All these things talking about my academic levels. And then one morning in meditation, and this was when I was going to Drake University in Iowa, and I was meditating, and I really sat with it, and I asked myself, where is this coming from? I'm feeling all this tension and this pressure, and I know I have exams coming up, but this is really crazy. Really, I could feel it throughout my whole body. And when I did tune in and invite that gentle breath and focusing on that, literally, Obehi, I heard my Father's voice telling me, you're never going to be good enough. You're going to have to study twice as hard. You'll never be a 4.0 student. All those things he did. He told me those things when I was in second grade. You know, their child is so impressionable. And a father figure telling me these things, I believed it. And so I was sitting there in this meditation. I heard his voice. Literally, I came out of my meditation and said, I was carrying his BS, although I didn't say those words, all this time. Right? It was like, and then all of a sudden it just lifted off of me. It's like, this was his insecurity about my academic performance. He was a teacher. It was a very small school district. So everybody looking at his child challenged with reading and all of that, right? He was projecting his insecurities upon me instead of saying, okay, we're going to get through this together. Let's sit down. Let's learn how you can learn in a different way, right? So by my meditation practices, by also with other modalities that I use, such as Reiki, I was able to calm my nervous system. And that way I was a 3.8 on the dean's list at Drake University. And it's a private university. It's a very tough university to get into. So I know it was because of my practices that I slowed down my nervous system. I implemented meditation, the breath work, knowing that I got this. I'm here for me. I can rise to the challenge with curiosity. I don't know where it's going to take me, but this is great. And I'm able to do this right here and now in my life. So it's also shifting the script of what we tell ourselves, right? What we're saying to ourselves mentally helps with our mental health as well. And believing in it. Not sitting in front of the mirror saying, I'm a millionaire. I'm, all these things that we really don't believe in ourselves about, but finding something that you really do believe in yourself. I'm kind. I'm patient. I'm resourceful. Whatever it is that you can, our listeners, our watchers, viewers can focus on, connecting directly to your eyes, you'll be surprised. It's an emotional experience because we're actually connecting with ourselves and telling ourselves these things that we didn't receive growing up. I wanted to share that about my father. And I accept him for who he is. He's since passed. And realize he was doing his best that he knew how. And I had to go through that in order to find my own self, right? To find my voice, witnessing that inner dialogue, that story I was telling wasn't mine.
Find myself in this world, in this entire equation. This is really an important conversation. I want to say again, because you are talking about the individual that need to connect to the source through the breath by going into the nature and able to feel part of the entire consciousness. And of course, being able to find also what is your reality, what is your number in this entire human machine or in this entire consciousness that make you able to contribute your part to and also feel part of what you are. I think maybe this is where it might be important for us to connect to the right frequency, because the information that we absorb, information that we take in, have a way of conditioning who we are and what we do. You see, if you take in the wrong information, it have a way of affecting you, whether you know it or not. And if you take in also the right information, That information is also having a way of conditioning you, which is you can gradually move towards a positive side if you are receiving positive information. But if you are receiving the wrong information, you can also be moving towards the wrong side, because the frequency that you are tapping into is gradually conditioning you and leading you to what that frequency is connected to. So I think it is important that we understand our role in the entire equation, what we are supposed to do, our little contribution, and the information that we need to be able to do that, and the frequency we need to connect to for us to be able to execute our part in the equation. So if you don't like the information that you are receiving, just like maybe in the regular radio station, change the frequency, because through that frequency, certain information are getting to you. If those information are not leading you to where you want to go, you better change the frequency so that you can get different kind of information.
Yes, and I'd like to add, Obehi, if you don't mind, you're actually changing not just the frequency, you're changing the vibration. So this is science, right? Science has shown how thoughts impact our cells in our body. There's cancer research out there showing that when we're thinking positive thoughts, when we're in that more open space, our cells are responding. And when we're in more of a negative light, in a lower frequency, then our cells respond to that too. Our cells don't know between right or wrong, good or bad. It just responds to what you're thinking. Our thoughts are energy. Our emotions are energy in motion. And our bodies are responding to it, regardless if we're consciously aware or not. So going back to that breath, that's that first access. That's the key to unlock the door from the inside. That's a space where you can connect to yourself, to your higher power. That's the ripple effect. And it's been, just amazing having this conversation with you. And I think we need to schedule another conversation. Be easy on yourself. Be curious and aware of what thoughts that are continuously showing up. As Obehi talked about, writing them down. That's perfect. Writing those down, and you can see a common thread, something that keeps coming up, and then be consciously aware of how your body's responding. Are you feeling heavy? Are you feeling tight? Tension in the back of your head, your neck, shoulders? That's very common. And just by being aware and asking yourself helps to make those shadows, more transparent. I love that, Obehi. I'm going to use that. Bringing that transparency so that way they don't weigh so heavy on you. And then starting a practice such as breath work or yoga or something to get you more into your body. Or just go for a walk out in nature. It can be as simple as that. That immediately helps to bring a cohesiveness back to your mind and body connection. Helps to ground you, center you. You can start as easy as that. Or you can connect with me about more. I also offer Reiki. We can have another discussion about that. And the biodynamic breath work and trauma release system, which is an amazing modality to melt those tensions, bring awareness to your breath, and allow yourself to feel alive again.
Thank you so very much, April. I really appreciate the time, the sharing, and the value that you shared in this conversation. It was so rich that I can't even quantify it. So thank you so very much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Obehi. I appreciate you and everyone listening. It's just been a pleasure always being here with you and co-creating as we're expanding the collective consciousness right here.